Hi everybody, my name is Thomas. I've been a enterprise CSM, worked in go-to-market enablement and CX enablement and ops. And I want to show you today how you can use AI and a few neat tools to create some content to quiz your team. So this is a great way. Maybe you're a smaller team, you don't have a lot of resources available, but you do have access to AI. You are in an enablement role, or maybe you're just somebody on your team that has some really great stuff you want to share and you want to quiz people and help them learn it. So you can use a few neat tools to help do that. Of course, there's a lot of other tools, LMS systems, learning management systems that you can use to do this, but this is kind of just a neat way to take advantage of some AI and possibly play around and learn how you can sort of extrapolate this into something else. So I'm going to use this example today of being a good CSM, being a nice CSM. I was actually going to do a video entirely on what it is to be a good CSM and a nice CSM. And then in the process, I sort of developed what I'm about to show you. So that's kind of where this came from. Let me know in the comments if you want me to go through in more detail what being a good CSM is versus what being a nice CSM, which seems like it would be good, but yeah, not quite. Anyway, I've got a few points here about what it is to be a good CSM, and I've got a few points here about what it is to be a nice CSM. So what I've done is I've actually gone, and I've done a little bit more than just these points. I've gone into Gemini. I put in a lot of other information. So you do need some content that you want to actually start with in order to do this, right? You can't just say, oh, make me a quiz on blah. You need to feed Gemini or ChatGPT a bit of content so it understands what's going on. So I actually went to LinkedIn and I scraped a bunch of posts using make.com to find content that some leading people are talking about on LinkedIn. And one of the posts was being a good CSM versus being a nice CSM. So I took that, I took some other information that I used AI to just, build up a little bit of more meat to what that means. And then I sort of said, okay, what is this going to look like? Blah, blah, blah. This is me exploring some conversation topics from those LinkedIn posts. So here we are. So I said, let me just expand this so you can create a series of questions to ask CSM to help them determine if they're a good CSM or a nice CSM. I want to score them and offer some quick bits of advice based on their answers on how to be a good CSM, not a nice CSM. Very simple prompt. I'm not using my favorite tool, Prompt Cowboy, today. This is just sort of where things led me. So we've got that. And now Gemini is, okay, yeah, great. Let's go through here. I haven't fully read all this. Again, I'm kind of doing this as I go here with you to show you just the ins and outs and what can go wrong and fix it and all that. So for each scenario, choose A or B. Great, reflects how you typically, okay. So first question, a customer has adopted a key feature crucial for achieving their main goals. When you next speak with them, you A, focus on the conversation on the features you are using well to keep the mood positive and avoid potential friction, or B, constructively explain why adopting the specific feature is vital for their stated goals, address potential roadblocks, and offer resources or a session to help them learn. So you can see that in order for this to be helpful, sorry, that creak is my chair, I need to tighten a screw. You can see that in order for this to be helpful, you have to be honest. So as a CSM, in this case, you have to actually be honest what's going on. But looking past that, I'm going to show you how you can build a quiz to help people sort of score themselves on this. Okay, so I've sort of read through these questions previously. They all look pretty good. There's not very many of them. There's only 7. That's fine. Scoring, give yourself 0 points for A, 1 for B, maximum out of 7. And then scoring. So if you get 0 to 2, you have some nice CSM tendencies, and it's going to give you some advice. And then we sort of score 3 to 4, 5 to 7. So that's great. Cool. So I'm actually gonna copy all of this. All of this is what I took, including the instructions. And I went into Lovable. So let's go back up to what I said to Lovable. I said, so in case you're not familiar, Lovable is a platform that lets you, it's called vibe coding, and it lets you build, prompt it, tell you what you want, and it'll build a website for you. So don't look at this right now. I don't want you looking at that quite yet. Look over here. So what I asked of Lovable, I want to create a simple survey where customer success managers, CSMs, can determine if they are a good CSM or a nice CSM based on how they answer the below questions. Okay. I want their answers to be scored and then given a conclusion with advice based on their responses. So I then pasted in what Gemini gave me for what that quiz looks like with the scoring and advice. So that's all here. That's lovely. And then Lovable went to work and did bippity boppity boo and created all of this. Now let me just open this up in another window for you. So that's it. Like, I mean, it's done. That was it. The hard part is arguably getting the content that you need to actually create and then prompting Gemini or ChatGPT to make you sort of a series of quizzes and explaining what it's going to do. So let's just go through this so you can see. This self-assessment is designed to help CSMs reflect on their working style and determine if they tend to be nice or good. Okay, start quiz. I'm just going to randomly sort of select some of these as we go through. We don't need to read them. We just sort of read these questions anyway. Cool. Let's choose A. Great. Your CSM assessment, 3 out of 7. Mixed approach. So this is where Lovable sort of added a little bit of extra. I gave it some. It's just taken the initiative to do all this and build it out for me. Advice for growth. So this was included in here. Remember, it's easier to read if I go back here. Quick advice. This was all here. So if you wanted to expand on this or include specific examples, you could do that before you went into Lovable. To prompt the creation of the actual quiz there. Of course, if you were also putting into Gemini a lot of your specific product or organization information, you could also put that in ahead of time up here when you prompted this to begin with, which would then give you sort of potentially better outcome, a better sort of advice at this point, right? So let's just take this again, and I'm going to do pretty much everything A. 1B, there we go, A. Oh, A, yeah. Now, this is where we need to, oh, I did it backwards. Haha, no, it was correct. I've just done it backwards. Let's go back. Okay. I needed to select B to get all the points. I want all the brownie points. B, B, B. Would have thought it was A. It's being clever. Oh, let's do 1A. B. There we go. Perfect. Strong CSM tendencies generally operate with a focus on effectiveness, customer outcomes, enablement, and strategic impact. Cool. Refine and enhance, mentor and share. Cool. This, you can, again, customize all this to be whatever. Now, the next thing you could do with this is you could prompt Lovable to give you, like, make it so that the CSMs can enter their name and print a PDF that includes a date, and it'll build a little button to say print a thing if you wanted some kind of verification. You could also include just a reminder somewhere if you wanted people to screenshot this maybe and send it to you so you could validate that they've completed it. So you could see how this could be used in any number of ways to create really easy, quick little quizzes and courses for your team, or even for yourself if you're a CSM. And say you've got there's a new product that's come out, and your company does a really good job, as they should, about putting all of that product information and release information on their website. The website is that primary source of truth for customers, at least. And even if you have internal documents, you can take all that, dump it into Gemini or ChatGPT, say, this is the product, create a quiz for me. I need to be an expert at this, et cetera, and go through the same sort of mechanism here, and then quiz yourself that way. You don't even need to build this in Lovable. I just think this is a nice sort of extra nice way to sort of make it a lot more enjoyable to actually do and share. Because what you can then do from Lovable is you can go up here and you can publish it and then make this publicly available so you can share this with anybody. So in that regard, careful what information you're putting in it, because it is then basically available to anybody on the internet, so just be careful, but that is an option. So the other thing I wanted to try, so that's sort of it. That's sort of the end of the bulk of what I wanted to show you all, and how you can sort of use AI to build some really easy materials to help you learn, but not everybody has Lovable or is allowed to use it. So I wanted to try Firebase. Now, Firebase is part of Google. So if your organization has Google Workspace, you might have access to this. I'm actually not 100% sure, but there's a lot of different, there's Lovable, there's Bolt, Lovable.dev, Bolt.new, Google Firebase Studio. So there's lots of options that you can do to actually use to make this. So I'm going to build this in Firebase, and we're going to see if it's going to give us anything worthwhile as well. Okay, so it looks like Firebase is done there. I paused the recording there for a bit while it was working. It did ask me for a Gemini API key, and it let me it auto-created one. Not 100% sure if you need to be subscribed to Gemini for that to work, but I don't know why it even needs a Gemini API key. I wasn't asking for it to do any AI things other than the creation of the web app itself. So, okay, we have an issue. Well, okay, cool. Fix that, please. Let's see if it can fix that. While it's thinking, it might interrupt here. Now, first thing we notice is that Firebase didn't do as nice of a job of giving us like an intro. Lovable sort of took it upon itself to build us okay, it did some stuff, but still an issue. Anyway, that's fine. Let's see what happens here. Lovable definitely did a nice job of kind of giving us a little bit, like it went a bit above and beyond, where Firebase might need a little bit more specific instruction. But regardless, let's see how this goes. The animations are kind of cool. I don't hate that. Generating your personalized advice. Okay, is this where it's using? Maybe this is where it was attempting to use my Gemini API to actually build more specific advice there. Let's see if we can. Let's just tell it to fix the errors. So this may or may not be an option. Now you know. I haven't used Firebase a whole lot, so I might not be the best at demonstrating what Firebase can do. I just thought it would be an interesting idea to try and use a tool that was not one that you might need to pay for. But you can definitely use Lovable for free. I think you get 5 free things a day in Lovable. Yeah, you get 5 credits a day for free. So you could, a good prompt, I did this in 1 prompt, I believe, other than it had an error, so 2 prompts, and I made this. So yeah, there you go. So just to collect the necessary information that you need about your content that you need to build. Now, this could be product, this could be internal process, this could be names of dinosaurs, this could be the ages of your nephews, etc. Something you need to study. Input that into Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever your favorite LLM is. Give it some instructions. You might want to use Prompt Cowboy for these if you want. I don't know if you need to, but I do love a good Prompt Cowboy prompt. Really helps you up your game. So check that out if you think it's worthwhile. And then ask to create the quiz. And just make sure you're specific. Like, tell it that it wants to be graded, provide tips, whatever. Be specific in what you want that quiz to do. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. That's all I wanted to show you, how you can sort of do this sort of thing and make some self-assessment stuff or some quiz material for yourself or your team, wherever you are, on whatever content you need super easily. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Love making this kind of content for everybody. I'm learning, you're learning, we're all learning together. Yeah, cool. See ya.